So far this season, the man that has taken the league by storm is Victor Wembanyama. Now the title may imply that Wemby was not so good last season, but it goes to show how much better he's been to start this year, which has the Spurs at 4-0, and everyone talking about how it's gonna be Wemby's league soon. Through Wemby's first 2 years, it was clear that his offense was behind compared to his defense. The reason was, Wemby wanted to be a big guard, but didn't have the tools to really leverage his size. So for the first 2 seasons, he turned the ball over almost 4 times a game, and he settled for a ton of threes, especially in that second season. Now, there was some concern over his decision to shoot that many threes, but the reality was that without real tools to get inside the paint, the way he thought he could score in bunches was just to rise over his defender. Wemby shot almost 9 threes last season at 35%, so he wasn't bad at all from there, but even he knew that this wasn't how he wanted to play. So in the offseason, he went to Hakeem to learn how he could leverage his size and play like a big guard, and that has really transformed his game. The first thing that has really jumped out is his footwork. Most of you have probably seen this clip where he's stuck on the baseline and is able to step through for a layup. This is just an example of how he's really reimagined what he can do with his size. What people need to understand is that he doesn't need to necessarily shake his defender. His advantage is that he could just go over his defender, but the footwork is there to help him get into position to take those shots. For example, when he faces up Obi Toppin, he goes to his version of the dream shake and Toppin doesn't really bite, but he's in a balanced position where he can now explode to the basket and no one's going to be able to contest that. This time he's facing up Nick Claxton, and he does a good job forcing Wemby sideways and makes him pick up his dribble. So Wemby moves right before turning his body to create some space, and that allows him to get the step he needs to float that one in. The key thing here is that Wemby just needs to be in a balanced position. He knows that he's not the strongest, and guys are going to do whatever they can to push him off his spots because they can't affect him at his shot point. So Olajuwon and Wemby figured out what sorts of shots he has access to when he doesn't have a runway to the basket. On this one, Davis does a good job cutting off Wemby's drive, so he then drives right and goes to the fade, except he pump fakes to get Davis to jump and still puts it in plus a foul. So for Wemby, everything comes down to the setup. With his defender aggressively trying to pursue him, his footwork is meant to help set up shots that he can go to, which gives them no chance of bothering him. The second thing that has improved quite a bit is his ball security. He's been much more comfortable ISOing his defender because the handle has been much tighter. On this inverted pick and roll, Toppin has to be concerned about campaign matching up with Wemby, so he sets him up by going right, then immediately crossing left. He picks up his dribble right before this help defender can snatch it, and then is able to draw free throws. He's also learning how to set up his defender more often. Here he drives on Nurkic, and then uses a stop and go to create that slither of space and gets to the rim. Wemby's always been a pretty smart player, but it's all about him mastering those counters that makes it hard for smaller players to bother him. Here Porter Jr. tries to cut him off to his right, so Wemby splits the double, then goes behind the back so that he can get to the middle. And again, because he's so big, this is like him practicing at the gym. And as defenders realize that he can actually use his dribble to set up easy paint touches, that then allows him to get those easy spot ups or pull ups that is right in his wheelhouse. The improved dribble and footwork has allowed Wemby to play more effectively with his size. It's only 4 games into the year, but so far, he shot only 3 threes per game compared to the 9 last season, and that has allowed him to be more efficient, posting a true shooting percentage of 69%, which is just nuts. In addition, even though Wemby's handling the ball more, he's only averaged 1.5 turnovers so far this season. Again, all of these stats should be taken with a grain of salt, but there's some tangible proof that the improvements he's made to his game has really translated to the stat sheet. The one thing though, is that most of his offense has been created when he's had a one-on-one matchup. Against the Mavericks, they understandably trusted Anthony Davis to bother him one-on-one, and that didn't work at all. While that would have probably worked last year, the reality is that teams are going to start bringing more double teams to Wemby as the season starts to go on. And that leads us to maybe the last major part of his game that will be monitored throughout the season, the passing. In one of my Patreon videos, I talked about how Wemby needed to get better at calibrating what passing lanes are truly accessible. Against the Pacers in preseason, Vassell had cut backdoor a few times, but Wemby mistakenly assumed he could just throw it over the top, which then got deflected. But in the regular season, that has changed a bit. The Nets double Wemby in the post, and he could have easily tried to throw it over both guys, but he sees a window between both defenders and bounces it to Keldon Johnson, who can then lay it in. The other thing that was a huge issue in preseason was him trying to do too much with the pass. Even when he saw open guys, he tried to get fancy with his passes, which ended up in terrible turnovers. But he's changed his approach a bit in the regular season. Instead of trying to use his passing to fool the defenders, he's now using his footwork to create enough separation to make these passing lanes more accessible, and that's a much easier pass for a dunk. Here's another one. This time he's isoing Claxton, and Clowney comes to double, but Wemby secures the ball first, and then goes to that fadeaway to set up that wide open corner pass to Barnes, who just misses the three. Now, the Nets were the first team that has really tried to double Wemby as much as possible, and during their comeback in the fourth quarter, the Nets had successfully doubled Wemby multiple times. A lot of it was the inability of his teammates to figure out what to do once Wemby passed it to him. On this one, Wemby holds the ball for a little too long because he's expecting the double team. When no one comes, he starts his dribble, and that's when the Nets double, and there's just not enough time for the Spurs to generate a good shot. Overall though, Wemby has generally made the right reads, but I thought the Nets' approach was pretty interesting. They try to mess with his timing by coming with doubles at different points and would aggressively try to rip the ball away from him. Sometimes they did get a bit over aggressive, but when Wemby sees better teams, that might be the saving grace to at least just slowing him down a bit. A lot of that is also going to depend on his teammates to be in the right positions, something that they didn't do too well against the Nets. But we'll see if Wemby can also continue leveraging his height, not just for his scoring, but for his playmaking as well, something that will basically make him unstoppable if and probably when the Spurs figure that out. For now though, Wemby has been on an incredible tear because of his improved ball handling and footwork that has really allowed him to leverage his size in ways we haven't seen from someone that big. And I can't wait to see what else he's got in store and the length that teams are going to try to slow down someone who just might not be from this planet. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please feel free to like and subscribe. For anyone that hasn't seen my previous announcement, I just started a Patreon and just made a video about my first impressions of Cooper Flagg. Here's a little sneak peek into that video. Alright, so on this episode, I wanted to talk about my first impressions of Cooper Flagg. Now, I think most people have been concerned that he's essentially the Mavs point guard, especially when they're starting games. But my bigger problem is that the Mavs aren't really doing anything to get him easier touches. Most of his touches right now require him to go make a play. He's a number one pick, so that makes sense, but he's also not like Luka where you can just give him the ball and do all the playmaking. Right off the bat, teams are really trying to pressure him and force him to use his left hand. On this first one, Stephon Castle's pressuring him in the backcourt and is riding on Flagg's right hip. Now he's able to get middle and looks like he's got a lane, but then he spins back to his right away from the basket. So there's nowhere to go now and he's got to get rid of the ball. Here's another one. Bryant plays a spin and funnels Flagg to the left side. And with Wemby there, he doesn't really know what to do at that point and has to kick it back out. Notice how most of these possessions are just pure ISOs. And what people need to understand is that he doesn't have the ball handling right now to really create his own shots like that. If that's the sort of content you're looking for, I'm offering an early season discount for the first month until November 20th. Just use the code opening day and you'll get 40% off the first month of your subscription. Besides that, hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.